large recruiting class, but I know your coaching staff and you are excited about this group of guys. Just give us kind of the overarching, feel and statement about this class.
Well, just first off, man, it's been a long off season as we went through it, and we knew when we set out to go and get this recruiting class, we had to go and get our type of guys. And you hear that a lot, but to truly be able to go out and then reach guys and find guys that are going to be able to fit for us here at Colorado Mesa was our biggest priority. So I really challenged our coaches as we went out. You can't get infatuated with highlights. Everybody in today's game can make a highlight film and look like an All-American. But we had to really dig and make sure that we found the character of guys that we needed that can come in here and, help make us a culture that we can sustain winning year after year. That's our goal. We want these guys to be successful in everything that they do. So when we went out, we had that goal in mind, and I think we did a good job of accomplishing that. We found guys that are different, guys that, we have a number of guys in this class that are going to be number one in their graduating class coming out of high school, guys that have already got dual credits leaving high school. We got a lot of guys that are purpose-driven, and that was one thing that we talked about as we went through it. And, so to see this thing come together today with this group and them finally be able to put a click to the paper, it's no longer the ink, but it's just rewarding and knowing that we were able to go out and find a class that really will represent us well and this university well throughout the next 4 to 5 years.
And you and I talked last night before we left the office, and this morning I asked, who's maybe a couple guys. You said a lot of guys could play big roles. Who, maybe narrowing that down a little bit, who's maybe 2 or 3 guys that Maverick fans could see next year in the uniform and on the field?
Yeah, like we hit the other day, Yonk, on that. There's a lot of these guys that have the potential to come in and contribute early in their careers. And then you look at the overall picture, where they're going to be 2-3 years down the road. I think some of those guys even got bigger shoes to fill and then will be huge contributors as we look at it. But really looking at this list, really excited about a few of these guys as we get going. And a big one, Isaiah Williams, D lineman out of Denton, Texas, a kid that's going to be able to come in and physically be ready to go. Now, can we get him there mentally and all the other things that college football entails? That'll be the test. And, these guys know that they got to continue to work. They got to enjoy this phase of being seniors, but continue to work and know that they're working for something bigger. So he's definitely one of those guys as you look at it. And then right here in our own backyard, you got a guy with a huge frame and a guy that played both ways for Coach Romano over at Palisade and Nico Moreno. And, he's got a guy that can come in here and add some beef up front on the defensive line right away. And then there's a number of guys that are just great athletes. You look at all the way, from Jamil Acosta Lewis coming out of Amarillo, Texas. He's just got a different mindset. He plays the game violently, a guy that, I expect to be able to come in here and compete in the secondary. Let's see here. We got a couple others. As I look at that, there's a big group of big, long kids. And then you look at a guy like Grimble coming from Smoky Hill. He's very similar to a guy that when I was at Colorado State is kind of what I told him when he was here, that everybody was like, I don't know, is he big enough? He's plenty big, and he's got the right mentality, and he wants to go on, and he wants to set himself up to be a cattle rancher down the road. And, he's just ready to come in and get after it on the offensive line. So you got guys there that are going to be able to push, and then we've got a number of skilled guys, and you look at a guy that is going to be coming from the same high school, and Baylor King, he's coming from the same as Cash Bradley. He's a competitor, and he can run, and he can play on both sides of the football. And so very similar to Cash, who stepped up this year and played for us. We look at Baylor to be able to come in and compete right away.
Questions?
So was there, I know you've got needs every year, but was there, we really need to focus on this side of the ball or this position? Or, with 46 guys, obviously you've got a little bit of everything. Was that kind of what you wanted?
Yeah, a little bit as we look at this. We had to continue to build depth all over. But the bottom line is, as you look at it, Patty, championships are won up front. So when this thing is finally all said and done, which we're getting close, you're going to have over 10 on the offensive line and 10 at the defensive line that we signed, and being able to get guys that can grow and make sure that we dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. That's where we got to get to be able to physically impose our will on opponents week after week. So that's the big focus, and if you can get that group to be solid and get that foundation built where those guys are leading your program, not just on Saturdays, but we're talking in the off season, in the weight room, and they're pushing people to be better every day, then we got good things going. So that was our big focus. Let's go out and find guys that can grow into large human beings and be violent and physical and be able to win the line of scrimmage week in and week out.
Let's say, obviously, you've got, a lot of kids. You went, four states. I mean, you kind of stayed almost, obviously regionally with Colorado and Utah. Texas obviously is always big, and you get a lot of kids from California here. Is it just kind of the way it worked? I mean, obviously you want to hit Colorado hard.
Yeah, and that was our goal when we set out, and I think we were able to do something that, with our staff and our connections that we have. I have 2 long-time high school coaches in the state of Colorado, so the relationships that they have with these coaches all over the state, that was very helpful for us in this, and being able to go to guys that we trust and understand the programs that they're coming from, and then you can really get the true character of these athletes coming out of high school. So that was huge for us as we went, and when we set out, we said we wanted to win Colorado. I do believe we did that today. We were able to go out and establish ourselves on the eastern slope and then also here on the western slope. So, it was tough, though, with all the coaching changes and everything that happened, and now with social media, you got guys that don't have to work as hard to be able to go and find and dig out talent, so they can follow everybody that's on your Twitter and on your handles and be able to go and target them as they went through it. So with the late coaching changes and those guys coming in, it made it a little bit tough, but I still think we were able to go and get our top guys and the guys that we targeted early throughout this process.
I said, you didn't have a full recruiting season last year. I mean, you had, a week before signing day, and you were bringing kids in, but this was the first time you've got your staff together, and you could kind of get a plan of attack starting last year with how you wanted to recruit. Obviously, that was huge for this staff, but how did that kind of work out, and how did did it work the way you thought it would?
Well, yeah, and really, I think maybe we made the announcement on signing day last year, so we haven't even really been a full year. So we're right sitting at that date right now, and we hit the ground running last year, but it was the same thing. And the big thing when we go out is we don't want these guys to have any false advertisement on what it's going to be. This next phase of their life will be the hardest that they go through, just for a number of reasons, not just the football part or moving on from high school to college, just the growth that they're going to have. And this is the time in their lives where different things come up. Loved ones and people they grew up with start to pass away, and they got a lot of different things that they have to deal with. So we try to lay it all out there for them. Yeah, they know that we want them and we love them up, but there's a reality to it, and everybody is out there and putting their best foot forward, but we try to really make sure that they get in the truth and they know what they're getting into and the expectations that they're going to have when they're here. I think that we've done a good job since we came in and with the group that we were able to bring in last year after signing day, and now just where we're at, being ahead of the curve and, bringing in a large class. And we need that to be able to continue to grow and bring the depth in that we need.
So, you mentioned the lines, and that's where probably the knockdown, drag-out recruiting happens at every level, is you can't have enough linemen. And you kind of take us through what all your line coaches went through trying to get some of these kids, because everybody in the state wants the same kids.
Oh, exactly. But when you look at our 2 guys on each side of the ball with Coach Wick and Coach Gilmore, they're just real guys. And They're really, they're not any BS to them. You're going to get it straightforward and very directly on what you're getting into. And so we were able to target the guys that understood that. And then, they were able to go out and build relationships with these guys over the past year. Really, once we started our prospect camps and targeting guys early last spring through the summer and all those things, we were able to stay in contact with these guys. So, yeah, we had some pushes from some other schools in the state that were trying to come in and build that relationship late. And ultimately it came down to, no, you know what? These guys have been on me. I feel comfortable with where I'm going. I understand what I'm getting into. So, again, it came down to just that real honest and open relationships that were built.
Was there, other than the lines, was there another target type position, or did you just want to go get some athletes who maybe, might come in as a running back, might switch to, something else? Or
Well, we were looking, for that multi-dimensional athlete that kind of does it all. That's kind of always been my philosophy as you go, and especially in the state of Colorado. A lot of these guys played both ways. So, you can pencil them in on the either side of the ball, but ultimately when they get here and then where our needs are, we'll be able to put them where needed. So we're just excited about that. Let's go find the best athletes, the best students, the guys that really are different. And that was our challenge as we went through it, because there's a lot of good athletes out there, and but we had to find the ones with the right kind of determination, the right kind of grit that are going to fit our mold.
you mentioned, the local kids, the Western Slope kids, and being from here. How did that you feel maybe give you a little bit of an advantage when you try to go to the 4 local high schools and even out into Rifle and the other area schools that, hey, I grew up here and this is a good place to be?
Yeah, no, exactly. The biggest thing as you look at it, and everybody's been through that phase of their life, is that you're okay, what's the next step? Do I want to truly get away from home for a little bit and see what that's like? Because a lot of kids don't understand how lucky they are to be here in the Grand Valley. So we really challenge them to take a look and really look deep into options that you have and where do you really want to be. How important is it that mom and dad can be here every week essentially and watch you play, and have your family around for that support. And what we told those guys and what I did, still being and going to college in the state, I had a lot of guys that came home with me during breaks that weren't able to go home, and you really grow your extended family outside of just the Grand Valley and the people that are here. You have an opportunity to open up your home and have these guys be a part of your family. And so, we cover all of it, and we've been through it, and all my coaches have been through it. And, we just try to make them be able to see that big picture.
Yeah, can you kind of talk a little bit about some of the local kids? I mean, Nico, obviously, he had a terrific season, and you can tell he's going to be a player. But some of these other kids that you're bringing in, some will be projects. Some, I'm guessing, will have a chance to play right away. But just kind of start in the fall and go from there.
Yeah, so as you go and you look at it, and a guy like Cash Walker just coming out of Central High School, and they were able to come to our team camp this year. We were able to watch him, and you just see the kind of athlete that he is, and a guy that's going to continue to grow. Has not even started to scratch that ceiling of what he can be athletically on the field. And, just getting to know him and knowing that, he's a kid that's very strong in his faith and wants to really be pushed to be great every single day. And when you have that attitude and that mindset, he should be very well coveted coming out of here if he wants to, and he has those tools to be able to continue to push and continue to grow. So, and we went through it and told him we don't know. Is it tight end? Is it going to be defensive end? You got some of the things that other guys don't have physically, and so now we've got to continue to grow mentally and become stronger. And then we'll just let the chips fall where they may, and we'll find the best spot for you as you continue to grow as an athlete. And then where else are you on there, Patty? We look at it. Yeah, and so the same thing with Hickey and watching him just compete. that was the big thing, you know, and he's right in the middle of wrestling and going after it, and just understanding his family and his bloodline that he comes from. You wouldn't expect anything less. So excited. Again, he was a leader as they came to camp, and he pushed those guys. And yeah, they didn't have the season that they wanted, but he's going to continue to grow. And I said, we don't know where you're going to play, but we want you to be a part of this, and we just want to watch you grow, and you'll find a way to be able to contribute. So.
And I know you said bringing in a handful of transfers that are here now. Ended up being 4, 12?
Yeah, no, we're probably right at, right now, we're probably right at 5 guys that have joined us, and finishing up on getting everything through the cleared and ready to roll with those guys. But I think we brought in some guys that can be difference makers and help push this thing. And, you know, just they're going to be great fits. They're great kids. They're great. Well, these guys are a little bit older, you know, so they've already gone through that freshman phase and are becoming men. And they're all guys, again, that we've recruited, that we had relationships with, and felt very comfortable adding those guys to the family.
Yeah. You know, now you can go and get ready for spring, right?
That's right,
So
and it's right around the corner for us. And we had a great day today, and a great couple days as we've got this thing started, and a lot of excitement right now. There always is early as you begin each phase, and that's a challenge. How do you elevate it every single day? But I think we've got a group that is stepping to the forefront and wants to lead. And we've all got that feeling in our stomach where you're sick from the ones that you let get away. When you talk about the details and the little things matter, I think that's clear now, right? Last year, yeah, we're telling them, we're preaching it, but now they see it and they understand it, and what is the difference in that fine margin between winning and losing each week. And we've got to find ourselves on that other side of the line more times than not. And so they're focused right now, and we're excited about this spring and moving forward.
Yeah. Bringing Scum back to help with conditioning and weight is, you know, might be, you know, maybe one of the bigger off-season additions to this program, because it helps the rest of the training staff not have to double up on everything, and gives you a guy that has bought into this program from years ago.
Oh, yeah, exactly, Patty. And Mark did an awesome job, and congrats to him to be able to run the department now and step up into that role. So the whole strength and conditioning is in good hands. And then I just, you know, I'm ecstatic to be able to get Scum. And I think it was this week last year, I dropped it in his ear that, you know, we need you to get back over here. And you know, it actually probably started stirring a little bit more when I caught his wife. I can't remember where we were at. And I said, are you going to let him come back? And she's like, no, get him. He's itching, and knew that he had that fire to be able to come back. And you've seen that. And there's something about it to be able to have a football guy. And, you know, it means a lot to him. And he's very proud to be able to come from being a Mesa State grad. And, well, I guess everybody gets CMU on their degree now, right? They post-date them or whatever they do. But it's been awesome, so we're excited.
Yeah, it's just one more layer there.
Yep.